They said my presence would cause problems, so I was quietly removed. You ever get erased from something in real time? Not fired. Not screamed at. Just removed. Like you were a smudge on a whiteboard, something inconvenient that needed wiping away, quietly, cleanly, without making a fuss. That's what happened to me. It started with a wedding. Not mine, God no. My cousin Beth's. She was marrying into a wealthy family from upstate New York. One of those kinds where everyone wears pastels and talks in soft voices but could destroy your entire life with a single group chat. The groom's mother, Elaine, was a walking J.Crew catalog with a polite smile and shark eyes. Beth had warned me ahead of time, just, be low-key, okay? Don't cause waves. I didn't think much of it at the time. I'd been low-key my whole life. That's what you do when you grow up queer in a conservative Southern family, you learn to take up as little space as possible. The trouble started when I RSVP'd +1. Because, yeah, I was bringing someone. His name was Marcus. We'd been dating for almost a year. He was smart, kind, steady in the way I needed. He even offered to skip the wedding if it would make things easier. I told him no. We're not hiding, I said. We've done enough of that. Apparently, that confidence was the problem. I noticed the shift a few days before the ceremony. The group text with all the cousins went silent on me. I didn't get the final schedule, the hotel block info, or even a time for the rehearsal dinner. Beth's maid of honor, who used to call me her favorite cousin, suddenly couldn't make eye contact when I ran into her at the store. Finally, I called Beth. What's going on? She sighed. Look, Elaine is really traditional. Like, really. And her family's already tense about a lot of stuff. The seating chart, the budget, the priest. And me? There was a pause. She just thinks it might be better if you and Marcus sat this one out. Quietly, I repeated. It's not personal, she said, which might be the most bullsh** T phrase in the English language. It's just, your presence might cause problems. You know how people are. Yeah. I knew. People like Elaine didn't yell. They didn't protest. They didn't throw slurs or start drama. They just moved things around until you weren't there anymore. And Beth let her. My family let her. I didn't go to the wedding. I didn't fight. Didn't make a scene. I just didn't show up. One minute I was invited, and the next I was an afterthought. Marcus and I spent that weekend at a cabin 2 hours outside the city. No phones. No social media. Just us and a fireplace, and a silence that said more than I ever could. But when we got back, I found out what really happened. Because someone I hadn't even talked to in months sent me a video. A clip from the reception. Speeches. Beth, tipsy and glowing, standing in front of a crowd, saying, I wish my whole family could be here. Some people couldn't make it. Others, well, you know how life is. Can't please everyone. They laughed, clinked glasses. My name was never mentioned. It was like I'd never existed at all. I didn't sleep much that night. The clip played in my head over and over again, Beth's voice, the clinking of glasses, the way everyone laughed like it was some harmless joke. Like excluding me and Marcus was just a quirky little wedding footnote. Not a betrayal. The thing that hit hardest wasn't even the removal itself, it was how easy it was for them. How smoothly they edited me out. How no one said a word. And then, 2 days later, I got a message that changed everything. It was from my cousin Noah. Now, Noah and I weren't close. Not exactly estranged, but different planets. He was always kind of a quiet observer in the family, never rocked the boat, never said anything controversial. But apparently, he noticed things. And apparently, something didn't sit right with him. Noah, hey. You probably don't want to hear from me right now, but I think you deserve to know what really happened. I stared at the message for a long time before replying. Me, you mean besides getting ghosted out of a wedding? Noah, yeah. That wasn't a group decision. It was planned. Elaine pressured Beth into uninviting you, but she didn't stop there. She also made sure no one else could make a scene about it. Me, what does that mean? Noah, they had a whole call about it. A week before the wedding. Beth, Elaine, her wedding planner, Aunt Rachel. The goal was to minimize friction. You were labeled high risk. Like a freaking security threat. I didn't even realize I'd stood up until I was pacing the kitchen. Heart pounding. Hands shaking. Me, why are you telling me this now? Noah, because I didn't say anything when it counted. I sat there and let it happen. I watched them erase you like it was normal. And it wasn't. Then he sent something else. A voice memo. I hesitated. But curiosity won. I pressed play. Beth's voice. He'll understand. Eli's always been sensitive. He'll just disappear like he always does. We can't risk Elaine pulling her donation over this. Another voice, Aunt Rachel's, and Marcus? Is he coming? Beth, no. If we pull Eli, he won't bring Marcus. It's better that way. No scene. No tension. Elaine said we'll look more unified. Unified. That word. Like I was the dissonant note in their perfectly rehearsed little choir. I sat down hard. Noah texted again. Noah, I know it's not much. But if you want to say something, I'll back you. I didn't respond right away. I didn't know what to say. But later that night, I opened Instagram. The wedding photos were already flooding in, carefully filtered shots of Beth and her husband, smiling guests, floral arrangements, and captions filled with words like blessed in perfect day. And then I posted a photo of my own. Me and Marcus at the cabin. He's reading a book, I've got my arm around him, and we both look so at peace it almost broke my heart. I captioned it. We weren't invited to the celebration. Apparently, we might have caused problems. So instead, we made our own peace. Quiet doesn't mean weak. And removed doesn't mean erased. It blew up. Within 24 hours, my DMs were full. Some people from the wedding sent apology messages. A few others unfollowed me completely. I didn't care. But the kicker? Beth messaged me. Beth, you didn't have to go public with this. Me, and you didn't have to cut me out like a stain on your dress. She left me on read. 2 days after the post, the family group chat exploded. It had been dead silent since the wedding, no thank you messages, no photo dumps, nothing. Just radio static. Then suddenly, there it was, lit up with passive-aggressive energy like Christmas lights on fire. Aunt Rachel led the charge. Rachel, Eli, I think it was incredibly unfair of you to bring family business into the public eye. Me, you mean the business where I got erased for being gay? Rachel, no one said that. You're twisting things. Then Noah jumped in. Noah, I heard the call. I've got the receipts. Don't pretend it didn't happen. Silence. For a beat. Then Beth finally showed up. Beth, look, I'm sorry Eli felt excluded, but this wasn't meant to be malicious. We were under pressure. Elaine's family threatened to pull their funding for the venue if things got complicated. Me, so I'm complicated now? Beth, you have to understand. We had to think of the bigger picture. That was the moment I realized I wasn't family anymore. Not the kind that counted. I was a variable. A problem to manage. Something that might make photos awkward or donors nervous. I left the group chat. Deleted it. Blocked half of them before they could even hit send on their next excuse. Marcus watched me from the kitchen, phone in one hand, coffee in the other. You okay? He asked. I nodded. Yeah. Just cleaning house. That weekend, Noah invited us over. Said a few other cousins were coming, ones who'd seen the post and started asking questions of their own. Turns out, I wasn't the only one who'd felt the squeeze. My cousin Erin had been discouraged from bringing her partner to a previous family reunion. Told it would create confusion for the kids. My trans cousin Jamie? They hadn't been invited to any extended family event in 3 years. Noah had a brother he barely spoke to because the guy couldn't handle liberal nonsense at Thanksgiving. We'd all been sanded down, one by one, until we didn't fit their polished little narrative. And now, we were done. Noah, quiet Noah, stood up in the middle of the living room and said, I'm sick of pretending this is a family. Families don't erase the people they don't understand. They learn. They show up. We sat around that room, me, Marcus, Erin, Jamie, a few others, and for the first time in a long time, I felt something like home. Not the place I came from. The one we were making ourselves. But of course, it didn't end there. Beth posted a carefully worded Notes app apology the next day. I realize now that decisions made under pressure can still cause harm. I love my cousin deeply and regret that anyone felt unwelcome on my wedding day. Nice try. It didn't land. Because the thing about being quietly removed is, eventually, someone notices the silence. And when they ask where you went, the people in charge have to explain the missing pieces. And suddenly, the story doesn't sound so pretty anymore. I didn't respond to Beth's apology. What was I supposed to say? Thanks for finally noticing I exist? Appreciate the PR move? It read like something you post when your manager tells you to clean up the mess, not when you actually feel bad. Marcus read it over my shoulder and just shook his head. So, we're at the damage control stage now? Yup, I said. Right on schedule. But the real kicker came a few days later. My mom called. Now, you should know my mom's not the villain in all this. She's complicated. Grew up under the same roof as Aunt Rachel and Uncle Don, taught to value appearances and keep your voice soft. But she also tried, in her own nervous, fidgety way. She sent me a card when I came out, even if it just said love you always and nothing else. She never got loud, but she never walked away either. So when she called, I answered. I saw the post, she said, gently. And the comments. People are talking. I'm aware, I said. I think you were brave. That caught me off guard. I do, she repeated. But you also need to know that you may not be invited to next year's reunion. There are some strong feelings about how you handled it. There it was. The warning. The quiet, whispered consequence. I exhaled. So let me get this straight. I wasn't welcome at the wedding because I'm gay, and now I'm not welcome at the reunion because I talked about not being welcome? I'm not saying it's fair, she said quickly. I'm saying it's happening. I pressed the heel of my hand to my forehead. I'm tired, Mom. I know. I've spent most of my life trying to squeeze into this family without making them uncomfortable. Do you know how small that makes you feel? I'm trying, she said softly. I know, I replied. But they're not. And I'm done making myself smaller just to fit their dinner table. 2 weeks later, something unexpected happened. Jamie, the cousin no one had invited in years, posted a picture of all of us from Noah's get-together. We were on his porch, laughing, arms around each other. No labels. No apologies. The caption read, "Some families you're born into. Others, you build." It blew up. Way bigger than any of our accounts ever reached before. Strangers DM'd us. Some with similar stories. Others just saying thank you. One woman wrote, "I showed this to my mom. We haven't spoken in years. She called me an hour later." It was surreal. Turns out, there are a lot of people who've been quietly removed. From weddings. From holidays. From families that value silence more than truth. A few nights later, I was out on the back deck with Marcus, a beer in my hand and my feet up on the railing. The air smelled like rain and cut grass. "You ever regret posting it?" he asked. I thought about that. About Beth. About the group chat I'd left. About the family that still pretended they were the ones being hurt by the truth. "No," I said finally. "I regret being quiet for so long." He nodded. "Good. Because you were never the problem." I smiled, slow and tired and real. "They said my presence would cause problems," I said. "Turns out, they were right. And I'm proud of that. Because sometimes, causing problems just means telling the truth out loud. And refusing to be erased.